Good evening and welcome to the September 13th, 2021 meeting of the Tupelo Planning Committee. Please take a moment to silence your cell phones. At this time, please rise for the invocation given by Jimmy Swine and the Pledge of Allegiance by Pam Adams.
Shall we pray? Father, we do give you thanks for this day, for the certainty and the sweetness of your presence. We pray, Father, for and thankfulness for the elected officials of this city, for the many volunteers. Also, we thank you for our guests who are present here tonight. We just pray that all that we do tonight will be done with decency and in order. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Attention, face the flag and pledge.
I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Be seated. The Tupelo Planning Committee is a volunteer group appointed by the mayor and approved by the city council. We receive no compensation for this as we do it as a community service. We spend a lot of time on our own funds studying and researching the applications and visiting the sites that are on our agenda each month. We ask that you remember that we do not take our positions on any application lightly. Our decisions are based on facts as they are presented and with regard to the regulations set forth in the Development Code. At this time, I'd like to ask the staff and committee members to introduce themselves, starting with the staff, and remember to speak into the microphone.
Russ Wilson, Zoning Administrator.
Pat Faulkner, City Planner.
Pam Hadley.
Jimmy Swan.
Scott Davis.
Leslie Mart.
Hattie Thompson.
Gus Hildenbrand.
Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes of the last meeting?
We have
Some corrections.
Okay.
I have a few. I showed Russ that they're English, but there was one that I thought that we ought to maybe discuss on the last page, next to the last paragraph, where we tabled that motion. There wasn't any second listed.
I know there was a second.
Yeah.
I don't remember. Yeah,
Well, I'll go with
we'll
that.
say that.
I'll go with that.
Which one was that? Yeah.
On the last page.
The last.
Last page,
Oh, okay.
the next to the last paragraph down there, where we tabled that.
We have a motion to table by Gus, but no second listed, but there was a second.
Okay. And who was?
I believe it's Patty.
Okay.
And the other ones are just English corrections. I'll give those to.
Is there a motion to approve the minutes with the corrections stated?
So moved.
Second.
And a second. All in favor of the approval? And that's unanimous. Do we have anything to report on the council actions from our last meeting?
The council did approve the rezoning and the site plan change for the landmark project. The Carnathan rezoning was not pursued. They dropped it, so there was no action on it.
Okay. All right, we have some old business. First of all, Flex 21-03, request to allow an expansion of a non-conforming use at 6481 Chesterville Road. This non-conforming self-storage facility was allowed when this area was annexed into the city. Applicant wishes to expand this non-conforming use to add RV boat rental spaces. This item was tabled at the August meeting to allow the applicant to develop a more effective landscape plan that provides a better buffer between the proposed development and the residential area to the east. Is the applicant here?
Yes, sir.
All right. State your name and address, and will you tell us what you've come up with?
Yes, sir. My name is Rick Tudor. My address is 148 Dogwood Hill Circle, Tupelo, Mississippi. And so glad to see you guys again. And I submitted the plan into Russ. I'm sure you have a copy of it. But what I did is move the buildings, the proposed buildings towards the center of the property to allow more room for a buffer zone. Okay, oh, you got that. Okay, so.
I also have your photos before
Yeah,
that
so
too.
I took a picture of, right there, that's kind of the, you can see where the stake is on the far right at the bottom. There's a stake where the property line is, and the property line shoots that way. There's probably about 6 trees that run in that same line that would stay there. kind of as an existing buffer to build upon. And then I would comply with the other issues around what I would need to put up for, the landscaping that the city requires. There's a lot of overgrowth there, as you can see. Much of that is on the neighboring property there. So you probably got a 15 feet worth of overgrowth that's already there. It's kind of a little bit of a bump because they don't bother to cut it, and it's their property, it's not mine. But I'd be glad to comply with whatever requirements that the city wants me to do to put in the proper buffer zone there. But I did move my buildings inward to allow for room for putting a proper buffer zone, probably about 100, I think that building's about 120 feet, about 100 feet up that way, and it's all densely overgrown from there backwards, so. I did have a letter from the neighbor that it was attached as well, Stafford Properties. I don't know him personally, but I have a friend that knows him and got into contact with him, and he submitted a letter that he didn't have any problems with my expansion on that property.
And that was included in the packet
was
for
included in the packet, yes,
the
sir.
planning committee members.
Any other questions for the applicant?
No, it looks like he solved all our problems that we had.
The only other issue, if I could speak, was the issue around the fencing, I think. And according to the city code, the fencing, I would have to put a 6-foot fence up. I'd have to put up a wood fence versus a chain link fence to be 6 foot high. And if I put in a chain link, it would be 4 feet high, which would be too low. Around the frontage, I would like to put up an ornamental fence around the front, which would be good visibility, should look nice on the property as well.
So it's hard for me to see on the new drawing what the dimension is for the landscape buffer zone. Can you tell me what that is?
Yes, ma'am.
No way I can see
It's
that.
31 feet by approximately 100 feet. It's 31 feet deep from the building to the property line, and runs up approximately 100 feet up alongside of that property.
And you reduced the number of units?
I did. In order to move it over, I had to reduce the number of units in order to accommodate sliding everything kind of westward. Yes, sir.
Okay.
And you will be building on to the existing landscaping that's there. Those trees are not going to come down.
Those trees in that tree line will not come down. Yeah, I'll be adding some trees and whatever's required of me to do that, but those trees would stay there. They kind of fall directly in line with that path for the building and behind it.
Mr. Tudor did meet with the staff, and we reviewed the requirements in Chapter 6 for an OPEC buffer, and his design does meet the plan,
Sure.
the requirements.
All right.
And, I'm sorry, we had, during our reviews last time, we had talked about the storm drainage and how you're handling the runoff coming off of those roofs, since they're going to be at an angle with the lower end toward the property line.
Right.
So how are you addressing the storm water?
Okay. Well, just in talking with my excavator, he didn't think the way that he was going to elevate that property, there was going to be a problem with the way the drainage would be on that side of the property. I don't have any specifics around what that is other than what he and I discussed about, how he's going to level that property off on that side. So I don't have any drainage problem. It's pretty well flat right there right now. It's not a lot of elevation to that property as it sits currently. And it really won't be elevated much more than what it is. You'll have to excavate a lot of the topsoil off and come back in with gravel. So
Sometimes when you have buildings, so right now it's open, so everything that, all the water hits the ground
Yes, ma'am.
is dissipated. But when you put in all of this roof, the water's gonna hit there and run off to points.
Okay, yeah.
And so that needs to be addressed properly so that we do not end up creating an issue.
yeah. Yeah, and I should be able to, I mean, again, you've got the culvert right on the edge of the property, right on the street, and it's a large culvert. And I can have them trenched behind the buildings, and so it can trench down towards that culvert. I think that should work fine.
All right, any more questions? Good. All right, thank you.
Okay.
We're going to open the public portion of the meeting for this application. Is there anyone here to speak for or against this application? And if not, that closes the public portion. We're open to committee discussion. No discussion. Is there a motion?
So moved.
So I want to make sure that we note on there that the stormwater will be reviewed and approved by the city, so that we have that. Does that need to go into the motion?
I mean, is that taken care of anyway at your level?
Right, yeah, we would include that in our review of the plan.
Okay. So that's not necessarily needed to state.
Okay.
So did you make a motion to approve?
Yes.
A
I make a
motion.
motion, we approve the plans with the suggestion
Okay.
of the drainage.
I second.
Motion and a second. All in favor, raise your right hand. And that's unanimous. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
All right. Now we will move to new business. And our first application is REZ 21-03. Request to rezone one parcel at 1880 East Main, west of the intersection of North Easton and East Main, from MUCC, Mixed Use Commercial Corridor, to industrial, in order to allow industrial use of the property for Gibson Corrugated, which owns this parcel, and the adjacent parcel to the east, which is located in an industrial zone. Is there someone here to speak for this application? Just approach the podium and state your name and address, and state your case.
Hi, my name is Dale Gibson. I live at 933 Tupelo Road in Tupelo, Mississippi, and I'm one of the 3 owners of Gibson Corrugated. We would like to rezone the property, which most people know as the old pawn shop property, to industrial, so we can, we're planning on adding truck dock doors to facilitate our shipping department. So we're asking for the rezoning for that request.
Are there any questions for the applicant?
No, I think it'll help that whole area there, so.
So you'll be bulldozing over those buildings, that old pawn shop?
No, the pawn shop building stays. There was another building behind the pawn shop that we have taken down. We'll basically, there's a bit of a grade, we'll be leveling that out and then incorporating 12 dock doors on the north side of our warehouse, which would be facing East Main Street.
Then you're putting in a paved parking area then too.
Pardon me?
You're putting in a paved parking area to get to those doors?
Well, it's going to be concreted for
Yeah.
large truck access.
All the way up? We're not looking at you putting in gravel?
No, it'll be concrete.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you. We're going to open the public portion of the meeting for this application. Is there anyone here to speak for or against? And if not, we will close the public portion and be open for committee discussion.
Does the planning department have a perspective on this?
Yeah, we were recommended the approval of the application.
Are we ready for a motion?
I make a motion to accept the application.
A
Approve it.
second?
Yes, okay, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, raise your right hand. The motion carries for approval. Thank you.
Okay.
Could you tell them what will happen as far as the final confirmation?
Yes, there will be one other hearing. The city council will have to finalize this action. It'll probably be at their first meeting in October.
Okay.
We'll move to our next item, Flex Variance 21-07. Request for a variance to allow the sale of alcoholic beverages in a restaurant located in a mixed-use commercial corridor at 2702 South Gloucester, which is located within 65 feet of a residential use at 979 Green Tea Road, also in an MUCC zone, rather than the required 100-foot building-to-building distance separation. Is there someone here to speak for this application? Please approach the podium and state your name and address and tell us about your case.
My name is Darian Linton. I live at 810 Beachfront Street in Tupelo, Mississippi. Me and my wife are the owner of Shenanigans. We are asking for variance because we want to add beer and white wine to our menu. We serve a lot of seafood, and people come from all over the place and they ask us all the time, "Hey, do y'all serve beer? This is great seafood, but do y'all just serve beer with it? It'd be awesome." And it would add so much more to us to be able to attract more people to our side of town, because we get people who hadn't been to South Gloucester in years. I met a guy, he came in the other day and he was telling me the history of the building, and it was back in the 70s, it used to be a grocery store. And he was just telling me different things about it. But people come to our side, we bring in people to our side of town who just haven't been over there in a very long time. Our food is great. We just want to add a cherry on top to it. And having a great beer when you eat chicken wings or have some seafood, it just kind of adds to it.
Okay. Any questions for the applicant?
What will be your hours of operation that you'll be serving there?
We open at 11 and we close it at 10. I like to be at home. I like to be at home at 10:30.
Is that true also for Friday and Saturday night?
Yes, ma'am.
Any questions?
We have a copy of the menu here.
Yes, sir.
You said there will also be seafood.
Yeah, we do serve seafood. I sent you a copy of that one.
Yeah, I got one page.
I sent you 3. So we serve taco wings.
I'm sorry.
And fried. No, you're fine. Taco wings and fried, and we serve seafood. Right now we're serving a big pan of seafood. It's only cost $50 because it's college football, and people just want to come in, watch Mississippi State beat up on somebody, and just have a beer while they sit there and eat some seafood. So yeah, we serve seafood.
Thank you.
How long have you been open?
We've been open since November.
Wow. Kudos to you.
Thank you.
So this menu we have is just one page.
Evidently, and I
seafood.
apologize if there were additional pages attached.
It was 2 more pages.
Okay.
Yeah.
Made me hungry to look at it.
There's no more questions, then you can sit down. We're going to open the public portion. Is there anyone here to speak for or against this application? Okay, then we'll close the public portion and be open for committee discussion.
I think we should probably do like we usually do with something of this nature. Approve it for a year, review it. If there's no problem, then let it go.
Actually, the last few times we've done it, I think it's only come back if there was a problem. We don't even review it.
Well, that's true.
It's an
You're right.
automatic.
Yeah, if there's no complaints. And,
So basically, what we've done in these situations is that we grant you approval. It basically is sort of like probationary for a year. And if there's a complaint, it's going to come back to us, and we'll have a chance to take this designation away. If there's no complaint in the first year, then you're good to go. And that way, that way you don't have to come back in here if there's no problems. We just kind of let you go on. So that seems to be it's worked great so far. In these same type of situations where you have a restaurant close to a residence, and this is not uncommon, and we see it a lot. And this is a good way to, give the restaurant a chance and put your best foot forward. So, yeah, I don't see a problem with that. Is that a form of a motion to do that?
I'll make that a motion, yes, that we accept
I'll
this.
second.
All right, so we have a motion and a second. All those in favor, raise your right hand. And that is unanimous. Again, thank you very much. Pat, could you tell them what the process will be from here?
Actually, the process is final with this committee's decision, so we'll be able to go ahead and issue that beer license this week.
And you
Thank you.
can call me tomorrow if you need any help on that. You can do it online through the state and then get that permit back and bring it to us, and we'll be able to get you the city permit. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, you too. All right, well, moving on to the next item on the agenda, Flex 21-04, request to allow the rehabilitation, restoration, and adaptive reuse of the old historic Carnation Milk Plant located in an MUR, mixed-use residential district at 520 Carnation Street, to be turned into 25 affordable elderly apartments, along with a new construction building that will house 25 additional affordable elderly apartments. So you're already up to the podium. Will you state your name and address and tell us about your...
Steve Nail. I'm Madison, Mississippi, where my company Intervest is located also. Here tonight to ask you if we can build those 25 units elderly housing in the old Carnation Milk Plant, and also a 3-story building that will house also another 25. And let me explain what the project is. Our really mission is to provide affordable housing, and we utilize both the historic credit and also the housing credit issued through Mississippi Home Corp. These people are 60% of area median income. They pay real rent, so it's not a subsidy program. The only subsidy is my sale of the tax credits to a syndicator investor that will bring us the money to buy down the cost of the project. This project's going to be about $9 million hard construction cost. We don't have a contract, but we're hoping that Century Construction will be our contractor. They've been working with us along as we've developed these plans. We were awarded these credits over 2 years ago. Our big problem has been we sent the first preliminary plans into Mississippi Archives and History, and then also Park Service. The people in Washington at the Park Service pretty much went home because of COVID. And so we have been fighting, trying to get what's called a Part 2. And that's the plan, that's the approval of our schematic plan. We've been through 4 draws, redraws, and we are finally there. We got it about 2 weeks ago. So it should be full speed ahead. If granted, we will start construction hopefully by the end of the year, if not in January. As you can imagine, it's a pretty complicated transaction, a lot of moving parts. Some of the things that we're trying to do right now is to help the city, and I've talked to Dennis Bonds a couple of times about how we can make that section across there, they call it the no-blow or a quiet zone, so that the train, which is very loud right now, that as it comes through, trying to get it to quiet down. If we feel like we've got some pretty good ability to get that done, it takes any time you deal with the train group, they take a long time. So We're starting that process. I know Dennis was trying to get a meeting set up for here in City Hall in the next couple of weeks, having Department of Transportation present and also the people with the train. And I've talked to their lobbyist. He's amenable. He wants to work with us. He said, you know, this thing's been going on 10 years. He said, Steve, but I'll crank it back up, were his words. And so we're also going to try to do that. I've been to the neighborhood and have had a meeting with them to explain the project. Everybody was in favor when they found out what it was. I think anytime you say affordable, everybody thinks it's going to be something that in their imagination. Actually, these are people, if you actually look at the cross-section of the people that are going to be in this complex, it's about 90% of your elderly citizens that are 62 and older, because living on fixed incomes. You know, and it's a wonderful, wonderful project when finished. On this particular project, we're actually going to bring in some community services. It's not going to be assisted living. These have full kitchens. It's going to be full apartments. But what we're going to do is try to bring in some of your people here and groups that are already providing services and bring them into our building. I've got permission, have worked with University of Mississippi, their telemedicine group, and we'll have a cart downstairs that we can kind of utilize. The FQHC local here they're going to provide us a nurse that will kind of help with some of the people with chronic conditions. And again, it's not assisted living. We don't have a medical licensure or anything like that. But these programs are already available out there in your neighborhoods. There will be some Medicaid people that will be able to utilize the benefits of that. Presbyterian Church has actually said they will help us, and you probably all know of their transportation program. We're going to be on one of the sites that they're going to help us. And so they've got software, and these people can call and get to the grocery, get to the doctor's office. So we've provided that. That part of the city, we're going to have to work on it to get it to raise up a little bit, but we're willing to kind of go and do that. Have I missed anything? Anybody got questions?
Will there be any amenities like walking track, gazebos?
We will have, and you should, do you have?
Yeah,
Yeah, we have.
there's,
Yeah, there's the walking track.
Yeah, we'll have that. We actually have a couple of covered parking. We're trying to utilize some new technology where we'll have some solar lighting out there. There'll be programs within. I'm trying to find a manager that can actually handle both management and also bring in exercise, or when my dad was alive, he had a sitter-size program. So we're trying to figure out ways we can bring in those types of activities. But yes, in answer to your question, we've got a walking track.
Thank you.
Age limit, you said 62 or older?
It's actually 55, but also people that are disabled are eligible for the
How
program.
about, are any kids allowed? I mean, are
No.
they, it's all adults?
It's in my lease.
One
That's-
family per unit, right?
That's correct. And they're mostly one bedrooms. So we've got, I think about 80% are going to be ones and the others are twos. And we just had ribbon cutting a couple of months ago on the old Hattiesburg High School. And what we found is about 20% there is a need. You'll have sometimes sisters that will want to live together, have separate bedrooms. We've had married couples that, for one reason or another, they want to live in a separate room, but they're eligible. So, yeah, we accommodate elderly, and we ask, and we have a rule about how many children and how long, and no overnight.
Okay, no overnight children. And what about well, I was trying to think. There's another question now, I forgot it. That's my age. Yeah, but, now income level. You
Yeah.
said,
60% of area median income.
which
That's
would be,
30,000 area. And then the reason they set it up like that is my rents are based off that. So no more than a third of the tenant's income, whatever they have coming in, will go towards rent.
yeah. But I don't know what the median income
It's
here
about
is.
56, isn't it? 57,000, y'all know?
Something like
That's-
So you're talking
I
about
hadn't- yeah,
30-some thousand a year is all
Yes.
they'll have to have.
Yes.
Yeah.
And again, it's not a rent subsidy program. People pay their own rent.
Yeah.
Will you have 24-hour supervision or management on the premises?
We try to find managers that will live there, but again, we're not a Medicaid type facility or a assisted living type facility. It's like a regular apartment complex, but what we will have is high security. So doors will lock, there'll be methods to get in and out, and there'll be cameras that'll be monitored a lot. I get up at 1 and 2 in the morning and look at cameras. So, it'll be looked after, but no, it's not a 24-hour security, high security. I couldn't afford that with the rents and all that we have.
But it is totally fenced and secured.
It'll be totally fenced right off the bat. That was one of the sticking points I had with the Park Service. They don't want us to have a fence, so we're going to build it and then put a fence up, have security. So it will be secured. Our biggest issue is what we're going to do about the train noise. And, we've got scheduled a fence to go there that's going to be some type of soundproofing. We have some ideas by our development team that if the people that we have come in, we can look at them, and if they're a little hard of hearing like me, they may go on the backside. So we're going to find a way to accommodate. What the A position is stop the train blowing.
So what happens if you don't succeed?
We have a backup plan. We're actually building, there's some materials that are soundproof. They're expensive, but we're going to put them on the backside there.
Yeah, because there is a problem there with the homeless right now.
We
With the
know about
Salvation
that,
Army being
and
closed.
I make it, Don Lewis has gotten calls from me, and at times they'll come and clean them out, and then they'll come right back. But they're not going to be there after we start. We'll actually put up a construction fence. They will not be able to get in that.
Have you had any discussion with the city about connectivity toward Gloucester and the Walmart marketplace, for instance? Has there been any discussion about sidewalks or anything like that
No.
the city might be helping with?
I do not right now, but yes, now is the time to discuss. We've got civil engineers that have just cranked up after we got our Part 2, so we'll be looking at that. The architects are definitely trying to figure out what we can do to help with pedestrian traffic through there. Any other questions?
Anything else? We're good? All right, I think we're good. Thank you.
Okay.
We're going to open the public portion of the meeting for this application. Is there anyone here to speak for or against this application? Okay. You approach the podium, state your name and address, and tell us your position.
I'm Doyce Dees, and I just wanted to speak in support of this project. We have been working, when I say we, the city and several people who've been interested in this building for some time, and other ideas have been explored. They were not that financially feasible. So we were so thrilled when Mr. Nail decided that this would be a good project and a good match for this building. If you want to go online and see his project in Hattiesburg, I believe it's Preservation Crossing, it is amazing. It's the old high school in Hattiesburg, and the other one is in Ocean Springs, Pascagoula, and it was also a school. Correct, school. So this is not his first rodeo in doing this sort of thing. There's such a need for housing that people can afford And there's such a need for this building to be saved. The Carnation Building was really the first Toyota in Tupelo. It was built in 90 days in 1928-29. It's poured concrete. It's very, very safe. And Tupelo had to compete with other communities to get this building. So it's an integral, historic part of Tupelo, and it deserves to be saved and to be brought back to life. So thank you for your support of this. It's going to be a great addition to Mill Village, and we're hopefully in the next year or so we'll finish the Spain House as well. So that whole area will help the resurgence that's occurring in Mill Village. So thank you. I just wanted you to know how excited those of us who are interested in historic preservation are about the possibility of this project.
Thank you. Is there anyone else to speak for or against? Okay, if not, we're going to close the public portion and be open for committee discussion. Just as a note to the committee, there's two different motions that we will need to have here. We will need to take a look at the flexible use and then also major site plan approval. So there'll be two separate motions.
I just think it's a great idea. I'll just go ahead and say that.
I second that.
I do too. I've been looking at that old building for too many years now, and it needs something in it. So, yeah.
Well,
So how do you want to proceed?
well, we need to have a motion to approve the flexible use of the property.
I'll make a motion to do what you just said.
Okay.
And I'll second that.
All right, we have a motion and a second to approve the flexible use. All in favor, raise your right hand. And that's unanimous. And now we need a motion to approve the major site plan.
I will make a motion to approve the major site plan.
I'll second.
So a motion and a second. All in favor, raise your right hand. And that is unanimous as well. Pat, would you like to tell them from here where we go, or where they go?
Again, these two items are final with the planning committee, so you'll be, there's nothing else that you would need to do other than get your plans together so we can approve that permit.
Thank you for your interest in Tupelo and the revitalization of our neighborhoods. And we appreciate you.
Okay, now moving on to the final item on the agenda tonight. Flex variance 21-08, request to allow subdivision of a parcel into lots with less than the required area or width in an MDR, medium density residential district, located on the north side of West Jackson Street, directly across from the main entrance to West Jackson Baptist Church. Is the applicant here to speak? State your name and address and tell us about your application.
My name is Luke West. I live at 737 North Madison Street, Tupelo. So the property that we have here is a home that we purchased. It was abandoned. No one was living there. It's since been falling. It's dilapidated, falling apart. The back is, you can enter the back without even, the door doesn't even open. So the proposal is that we would tear this home down, revitalize the area with 6 homes. We're going to base these on, similar to the Cottonwood cottages out near the airport. We would just line them up right on the road there off West Jackson Street and divide it up into 6 individual homes.
Questions for the applicant?
Have you looked at some other options to be able to create, let's say, an access road and not have these deep, skinny little lots with the houses right on top and dumping 6 more driveways out onto Jackson Street?
We actually have. We had an engineering firm come in. The cost to building a road that has a roundabout large enough for the fire truck to go in and turn around makes it investment that's just not sustainable for our team. But we're going to ensure that these houses are homes, cottages that look good along that road. It's certainly going to revitalize that area and look better than what's currently there. And the lots are not going to look disproportionate. The two lots that are beside what we are proposing are smaller than the lots that we're proposing, even all 6 of them.
Well, I'm not a house builder, but it does seem like they're kind of small.
Yeah, so the lots are more narrow than they are, but they are longer. If you are familiar with the Cottonwood cottages, it's kind of out by the airport. It's a very similar design there, where they're kind of lined up one or the other. But the way that the homes will be designed is the individual will, this side will have its privacy, and the other side will rotate and face kind of the other direction, or their front door will face the other direction. So they should be able to line up pretty well.
But you've looked at house plans you can put on that
We have.
narrow lot?
We actually
and
have.
still have a driveway?
Yeah, we actually have a paper that, I don't know if we've included in that, but I can pass around, where we put the house plan on the design with our engineering firm, and it works and fits.
What is the square footage of the house plans that you're looking at?
1,200 square feet.
1,200.
You're going to build a 1,200 square foot house on those lots.
We are.
This I gotta see.
It's the same concept as Cottonwood. They're 35 by...
Can you come talk? Sorry, we're recording and we can't hear what you're saying.
Cottonwood lots are about 35 feet wide by 110 feet deep. These would be a little wider at 38 feet by 230 feet deep. So they'll actually be quite larger than what Cottonwood would be, but it would be the same house plan, which would be about 1,200 square feet. So
Do you have a picture of the Cottonwood so that everybody on the board can see what it looks like?
And there'd be 6 driveways coming out on Jackson Street.
That's what's.
Each would have a turnaround in front.
I can do Google.
So you can actually come out of your garage, back out, and come out the street.
Google Earth on here.
The garages will be on the front.
You want to pass this around?
Sure, yeah, let's do that, because they have to be on the front. They can't be anywhere else with 30.
Yeah, they can't drive back there and have
This is the
property.
Cottonwood layout here, and then this is the proposed, actually, this is-
Russ, is it possible to use Google Earth or even Google Map to be able to put us on Cottonwood Drive so people can
you
see
can see the
the
little sketch of the
density?
house there.
I would
There's the
say that-
layout of it right there.
You know, just the one difference would be that is a closed neighborhood, and these would be spilling out onto one of the busiest. I know it's a residential street, but it's not really.
Yeah.
It's a thoroughfare, a 2-lane thoroughfare.
Yeah.
And it's, crazy enough as it is to spit, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 out.
So actually, what's at the corner of Joyner and Jackson Street, where they're packing those little houses in there, those are actually much smaller than this proposal.
But they don't have an outlet there for every house.
We have one.
Yeah, well, my thought was that those, along with Ingram Drive, whatever that's called, I'm not sure what you're talking about.
Cicadas.
Yeah, something like that. But they all open onto a smaller little side street, just like what's probably gonna happen on Jackson in that 2 or 3 acre empty area. It was in the paper, where they're gonna come out with a frontage road that all those homes will front and then have one way out onto Jackson.
And that was the original plan for us to be able to have just a circle drive. It wasn't feasible, but
Yeah.
we did include in our design for them to be able to turn around in their own driveway to pull out, so some people are not backing out onto West Jackson.
Yeah. And I understand where you're coming from, but, what we've got to look at too is like, well, what's in the best interest of the city, not just what's best for your pocketbook. If you're taking what was one lot, granted one big lot, and making it into 6. So that, we're just, I said, fully understand the money thing, that drives all development. But, what we're comparing to is a closed does not front onto this, it would be like it was fronting onto West Jackson. It's not. It's not a cul-de-sac really, but a little subdivision.
Can y'all see that okay?
Yes, so that you can really see the density that's going on, and as Scott pointed out, those houses are not coming onto a major thoroughfare.
Yeah, the lots that are proposed are, of course, these are 110 feet wide, so the proposed lots are 230. So there's quite a bit more space for them to sit back off the road and to have a way to turn around in the front to get in and out.
And I want to, I'm really not trying to be negative, but I almost feel like I wish there was a way to do something with such depth to the lot. You've got these lots that are, I see where you're coming at with the cul-de-sac.
And we wish we had an SI go in and put in a cul-de-sac and set up, but the cul-de-sac took up so much space because you got to be able to get a fire truck to turn around, that it wouldn't work.
So, did you guys look at just a straight road, a frontage road for these homes with a barrier? Because if you read that article that was in the paper, that is exactly how they describe that today. There'll be one access onto Jackson Street, then there's a straight road, which means, I think, that the fire trucks can still be on Jackson Street and still reach the properties, but yet we don't end up with 6 or 7 driveways coming onto Jackson Street. Did you guys explore that?
Yeah, I'm not really sure how that would look, but I think what the proposal for what you're talking about is it's a couple of acres, it's a larger parcel there. So I think maybe that would make a little better sense. I'm not sure how that would look with this parcel because it's smaller.
So you're saying a parallel frontage road?
It is. It is.
With a landscaped area between that street and West Jackson?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which makes it much more attractive, not only for the citizens of Tupelo and the fact that it's a major thoroughfare road, but also for the people who potentially would purchase those homes because they then have a traffic barrier.
Yeah, you're talking about 10-foot driveway every 35 foot, 6 of them in a row. And that's like having apartment houses all emptying on a major thoroughfare.
So these lots are actually a little bit larger than the 2 lots to the right, if you could pull that up on your screen.
The original plan.
If you could go back to the West Jackson Street.
I believe they're wider than 38 feet, aren't they? They appear to be.
They're 54, but they're shorter. They're 54 feet. But
Yeah, they're shorter, but.
Square footage wise, they're smaller.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you got.
Can certainly go back further into.
Yeah, but.
Well, I think the issue is not the total square footage. The total square footage number is great. It's the width. 38 feet is pretty narrow when you're really left with 28 feet to build a house. By the time you come off your setbacks on each side, 28 foot is just not in a subdivision where they're all lined up in a row. Yes, but that would change really the character right there of that street. Not to mention just the safety aspect of all those driveways.
And with that long a lot, the last 50 foot's going to be grown up anyway on half of them, probably. So.
Well, I guess that 6 is, if you, I don't know what the total foot is, but if you did, what would it take if you did 48 or 50, whatever it would be, if you took one out? I guess, is that starting to make it not feasible to do it?
It really, yeah, we looked at it several different ways. This was the best option. Otherwise, we would just probably, be left to just sell back what's there to somebody else to try to do something with that house that needs to be torn down.
Or look into a lot to, the 2 small lots to the side or something to create, to be able to get enough width to do something where you could do a horseshoe shape or
yeah, just when you start putting the infrastructure in, it just.
I know that. You're trying to utilize what's there. I get it.
Adds to everything.
I get it completely.
And we really did. We looked at it 4 or 5 different ways. This was the best option that we came up with. and really thought that it would be attractive there, much like what you got down further on Jackson Street. That they're doing like on the corner of Joyner and Jackson, which would actually be larger lots than that.
I can tell you a little bit more about that development on the corner of Jackson and Joyner. We actually had to go back and replat that to make the lots wider. Originally, they were designed at 30-something feet width, and the builders just said, no, we can't sell those narrow houses. We would rather have fewer lots that are at least 40 foot wide and sell a house that has a little bit more character from the front. And so we accommodated that. We gave up 3 lots out of that development in order to accommodate slightly wider lots.
I mean, just simple math, when you have 38-foot wide lot, 28-foot wide house, you have a 12-foot garage, you're left with, 16 foot of living space wide for the depth of the garage or more before you can incorporate the full 28-foot width. And like Pat was saying on Acacia, when some of those were even a little less than 38, I think.
Right.
And we had to do that here on this committee, come back and replot it because couldn't do anything with it. It's too small. And, you can do pretty much anything you want with 50. You start getting into the 40s, or it gets less and less easy, and you get below 40, it's just not a lot of space there. Like I said, to put something with some character. Honestly, what's on Cottonwood doesn't have a whole lot of character. It's just garage. I mean, really, the garage door dominates all the homes.
That's right.
I don't feel like that has a lot of character on Cottonwood.
So do y'all feel like the development there at the corner of Joyner and Jackson Street, the way those houses are stacked in there facing odd ways, do y'all think that looks better than this one look?
Yes.
Yes. It just creates so many problems. In building that, you're going to have to maximize the amount with that small a lot. And if you get off, then you're too close to the property line. If you get your concrete off, and the next one too. So you'll have to be exact to do everything when you're building those houses.
The plan would be to build them all at the same time.
This is the street view at Cottonwood.
Yeah.
I would really love to see you guys work maybe a little bit more closely with the planning department. Look at if they're willing to share some of the information about the development that is further down on Jackson Street where they've created that frontage road. From my perspective, I see potentially Jackson Street becoming an even larger thoroughfare as our city grows.
Yes.
And so we want to make sure that the properties that you bring you in top dollars, and also will benefit the neighborhoods behind it. It's not just about putting those properties there and getting housing out there. It's about making sure that our neighborhoods are alive and vibrant, and putting in something that's not going to help them isn't helping you either.
Absolutely. I think in my mind, this only enhances that whole area. Leonard Street, is behind there. Most of there's some duplexes and some older homes back there, but in my mind, this definitely enhances the look of the area. Certainly from what's there now. And there's such a demand for this type of house, as y'all probably know, in Tupelo at this price point.
All right, do we have any more questions for him? No. Okay, we're good for now, so y'all can sit down. We're going to open the public portion of this meeting for this application. Do we have anyone here to speak for or against? Okay, will you approach the podium and state your name and address and tell us your position?
Hi, my name's Rita Kitchen. I live at 1107 Marquette Street, and I am Bristow Acres Neighborhood Association president. we had, some of us had got the letter in the mail to come and kind of see what was going on, and some of the neighbors called me, they do have some concerns. Most of ours, and I mean no disrespect to anyone, most of our neighborhoods, you're right, other than that couple of streets of Leonard, are bigger properties. We have larger yards, so we have a concern of going to something a little smaller. How well would it fit with ours? And some of the neighbors are worried about whether or not it may become rentals, or we don't have any problem with rental properties. It has its place. But that really, the size is our biggest concern. And as you brought out about West Jackson, that's a busy street on a good day. But our biggest thing is really the size. We're trying our best to keep our homes in, just in our normal, stay in our character, as you put it. That was a good way to put it. So that was our only concern.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else to speak for or against? Okay. State your name and address.
Keith Cochran, the pastor at West Jackson Street Baptist Church, and I just want to applaud you guys for, man, let's revitalize that. Buy that house on the corner also. Anyway, I'm kidding. I think our biggest concern, if we had a concern with you guys, and we'd love to see what you're doing and see it happen, because we have a vested interest obviously in that neighborhood as well, is the space right across from our driveway becoming a driveway, not becoming 2 or 3 times a day or 2 or 3 times a week being a very busy space for us, obviously, and seeing that intersection there at Lumpkin just becoming right now more and more often backed up past Jordan, and so that would be, again, I'm not really speaking for or against the proposal, other than to say, man, I'd love to see it work out in whatever way. If you have to redo something to work it out. But that was our concern, is looking at the picture that we got and thinking, man, that's right across the street from our really main exit driveway, and what that would create when we're there on Sundays leaving, on Sunday nights leaving, on Wednesday nights leaving, and other times where we have large groups there would be my only concern. I was smart enough to do that, I'm sure, but that's really all I wanted to just share my thoughts on that.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? For or against? Okay. If not, then we'll close the public portion and be open for committee discussion.
Well, of course, this is a planning committee, and so we're supposed to look in the future. Main Street, Jackson Street, and McCall are the only 3 full east-west streets. So Jackson Street is gonna be a busy street. And these driveways are gonna really be compounded in the future, and that Jackson Street is set to be at least 3-lane anyway, sometime in the near future. And so, with 3 driveways, it's just going to be a headache for the people that live there and people that are on Jackson. Now, if they built, like they're talking about on that new subdivision on Jackson, where they built a little frontage road where you only got 1 driveway coming out, then it's a little bit different. And that driveway could be where it could be not directly across from West Jackson Baptist Church, which it would tend to be a little bit better there. The thing I'm thinking about is, as you say, that traffic gets backed up. If you're living in those houses, and once that traffic's backed up, you can't get out there. And it does get backed up on Sundays for sure. And so that's my concern. I just think 6 driveways there in a row is just more than building the houses. I'm sure they can build a house on there that sells, but the driveways are a concern to me.
So from my perspective, having these small, tiny lots that are so narrow, depth is just outrageous. They're so deep, but the side to side and having 0 lot lines, in essence, zero lot lines right on Jackson Street. I think we're doing a disservice for our future planning on how we envision Jackson Street looking 10 years from now, 15 years from now. What's going to happen for that street when it becomes 3 lanes or 4 even? To dump the cars onto Jackson Street and then to have these little 0 lot lines. I just don't think this is the place to have that development.
It's similar, we've been talking about what's happening on the other end of Jackson, where the 3 little developments all have one access to Jackson. And then it's also, to me, similar on the commercial side, to where in the last 10 years or so, development on, especially Gloucester, has tried to have one way in to a number of places instead of granting a drive to each one. Is mainly to cut down on the number of drives, into a busy street. And this is a smaller version of that. Granted, it's still a very busy street, and to put 6 more driveways in seems a little excessive. There again, we are the planning committee.
Exactly.
And it's not about not developing the property. It's what's the best, here's a chance to do it right. Try to, is that the right thing for that lot?
Exactly. I mean, if you think about it, it'd be, in a perfect world, they potentially be able to purchase those kind of 2 houses that are in between the lots that are down there on the corner and then these, and create wider properties, have that access road, daylight it out onto Lumpkin instead of onto Jackson, or with just the one driveway. But, and I know that those houses are not for sale, but this little 0 lot line development at this location, this is probably not the location to do that 0 lot line. I think there are other ways to potentially develop that land, maybe with some future thought, work with development services on some other options. What does the city say?
Well, it's actually a fairly complicated numerical analysis, but if you were to go down from 6 lots to 5 lots, you could have lots of 46 feet wide, which would allow you to build a much more marketable house size. The difference between 6 driveways and 5 driveways is not that great.
So we still have that same issue, even if we went down to 5 lots.
Yeah.
We'd still have to have some way to get them out.
You think back too about that a couple of years ago on Lakeshire, on the other side of Lakeshire, they were kind of wanting to do something that didn't really fit. And while, it looked good on paper, it didn't really fit that location. And this might be something similar. Does it fit the location? I mean, it's a great idea. I mean, the Cottonwood, the way, it's off the screen now, but that's not, those Cottonwood houses are in a little separate cul-de-sac kind of thing, and not on, Jackson.
Yeah, and when a city gets busier and streets get busier, you want less driveways instead of more. And that's the reason on busy thoroughfares, you don't want many. That's the reason you have one driveway for a whole subdivision.
Well, and that's why this new thing on Jackson that came out this weekend, they're going with one way in to multiple homes. That's Acacia, which it's convoluted, and then, it's kind of crazy, but it does keep all the houses from fronting onto Jackson. And just like we were saying about the commercial thing on, MDOT not allowing so many drives, to try to cut down on the number of access points.
Exactly.
Well, instead of just completely turning it down tonight, is there anything we can do, like to maybe table it so that they can approach it with a different aspect, maybe?
If we oppose it tonight, do not pass it tonight, then what, it'll be another year before they could
Yeah.
come back to us?
Yeah, you can't ask for a variance for a year. I guess it's really what, I hate to just deny you, or sorry, if that's what the committee, I hate to turn you down completely. It's a great idea. But I don't know how open you are to talking to the department about, coming up with a different layout. We just table it and come back next month to see, or the month after that to see if you're going to do something different.
So are y'all saying that if you had a little,
Come up to the mic, just so we can, we'll watch the video get the minutes and won't know what you're saying.
so are you saying if it was a little frontage road that was there that basically, I guess, went from one end to the other, that would be more appealing? Is that what I'm hearing you say?
And wider. And wider lots.
Yeah, I think doing both of those really wouldn't make financial sense. We would probably just have to abandon the whole thing, especially if you're going to have to put the cost into putting a frontage road there. I think if you're going to pay to put a frontage road in there, you would almost have to have the 6 lots to make it feasible financially to do it. I think I did understand from Pat originally that maybe if there were 5 lots, there wouldn't even need to be a variance. Is that correct, Pat?
It could be close enough to be approved in-house.
So I guess my question is 5 lots an option, or would putting a little frontage road in to keep the 6 lots be a better option?
What would the size be, Pat, if he only did 5?
46 feet wide.
And so what is the size in order for it to have to come to us?
It's got to be over 30% change from the standard,
And the standard is?
50 feet. And 46 would be 4 feet out of 50. I can't do that math, but it's not much.
Not much.
No, it's not much. Is there anything in our code about getting approvals to daylight onto Jackson Street? Does that have to come through us? I mean, it's still a major subdivision, right?
The access standards in the code are based on MDOT standards, and the bottom line is that if there is a legal lot, that lot has a right to a driveway. It has a right to access some form.
So 46 foot would make it a legal lot,
Yeah.
and it could just come right on out to Jackson Street.
Yeah.
Is it still considered a major subdivision if it's got 5 houses instead of the 6?
No, it would be a minor subdivision because of the number of lots, and also because they would not have to put any public street infrastructure into it. That's the biggest kicker of putting something into a major subdivision category. This one is only coming to you because of the variance request on the size of the lots, not because it's a major subdivision.
It sounds like you can do 5 lots straight onto Jackson, or do 6 lots and build a road.
But if you build a road, then, Pat, who keeps up that road? Each of the occupants? Or does the subdivision have to keep that up, or what?
You would need to build it to city standards and dedicate it as a city street.
So the city would take
Then it would be, yeah.
take care of it, okay.
Yeah.
So that frontage road would have to be to city standards?
Right.
To street standards, okay.
Pat, are there any plans for widening Jackson Street up that far to require the setbacks further?
I don't know what major thoroughfares sequence is. They are looking at the eastern end of Jackson first. I don't know when they would come to this part, but their long-range concept, as I understand it, is 3 lanes all the way.
So if that is the case, does that come into play with approving what setbacks they have to follow? Is it based on the plan for what's going to happen on Jackson?
No, we couldn't really enforce that at this point because there's no concrete plans, just an intent that probably 10 years down the road, the development in the 1100 block that I've been working with did make that extra setback to accommodate what they knew was going to happen on that block.
Seems like that's a shortcoming on our part if we know that in the plans that this is what is being planned, that we don't at least take some measure now for properties and for new developments so that we don't find that they're...
To what? To Clayton and not on to Joyner yet, right?
Not yet.
But close.
Yeah.
So we actually have from Joyner, basically that we know about, up to Air Park Road. There's not a whole lot of space in between there that it's going to be 3 lane.
Yeah, at some point.
Yeah.
I mean, getting back to this, it seems like you can do the 5 lights and not have to have our permission. Or if you want to do more than that, work with them to do more, because just kind of getting the temperature of the room, they're not really thinking 6.
So yeah, either the 5 lots or do some type of a frontage type situation.
Something, and I feel like the 5 lots, I wish it wasn't 5 driveways, but, that, you can do it, and if you want to do it, that's fine. I feel like some form of something else might be better, but if you want to do 5, you don't have to get our permission for it. So that's really up to you. I guess I'm trying to think about how you want us to proceed, because if somebody makes a motion to deny, you can't do anything for a year. And I don't want to do that to you, because you're trying to improve things. So if you're thinking that you want to look at, do you want to try to buy another lot? Do you want to try to do something bigger? Then we could just table it and y'all figure it out. You may just say, oh, we're going to do 5, and you never come back.
So I guess my question would be, and we'd need to discuss it, of course, and we'd have to get some pricing on what a little frontage road would cost. But am I hearing you all say if there was a frontage road there, that y'all would feel favorable to the 6 lots or not?
I wouldn't care. It's up to you or to build the house on 38 feet wide lot.
Well,
if that would create the Jackson part of it, cleaner. But I don't know, how everyone else feels about
I guess,
that.
is it worth even investigating that? If everybody's not really in favor of doing the little frontage road, then it's probably not worth investigating that. It'd be better just to do the 5 lots.
Well, I was going to make a motion that we accept the 6-lot design if they build a frontage road. That's what I was going to move that. Now,
I sure wouldn't want to see that. I'd rather them go back, redraw, redoodle to
Well-
find out if it's, what they can do and what they can afford.
well, but that's what I'm saying. I was going to make that motion, which probably wouldn't have passed.
Yeah,
Well, but that's what we were talking about.
Yeah.
Which means then you'd have to wait a year.
No, not necessarily.
No, they'd have to wait a year to come back to us.
If
But they
we-
could do 5 anytime.
I'm just, if you're open to doing, if you're saying it's 6 or nothing, then,
No, so we've investigated this several different ways, so we know what it looks like. But we haven't investigated the frontage road cost.
Yeah. and too, if you do the frontage road, let's say the cul-de-sac, you're limited, once you build the cul-de-sac, you're only gonna, have the pie-shaped lots around. If you do the frontage road, there's nothing keeping you from buying those other, and extending, you could just keep extending it on down. You see what I'm saying? And you have room to grow that little pocket subdivision or pocket neighborhood, whatever you want to call it. It does provide some more open-ended growth for you. I just like trying to not have so many drives onto that busy. I think I'm more about I would rather have 6 drives on a frontage road than 5 drives straight onto Jackson. I don't know how that, like I said, that would give you the opportunity to keep going in each direction too.
Yeah, you could make that into one major, if you could buy the houses on each side or whatever that you, you could, future-wise, you could make that frontage road.
But if you want to think about it some more, maybe just table it and if you want,
Yeah, I think we would.
that gives you the option. Yeah. But are we okay with that? And because I don't think you're going to come to a decision tonight, so we just table it and to see what happens.
We're not too far.
Thank y'all for your time.
So I make a motion to table this? Do we have to make a motion for
We need a
that?
motion to table in a second.
Okay, I make a motion to table this?
I second.
And all in favor, raise your, okay, and that's unanimous. Now, it doesn't, you take us, I don't think we have to come back, it's kind of this, so since we have an open, well, we can do it for an hour or whatever and not feel like.
That's what, how long, Tanner, how long you think it'll be?
Well, let's talk about it. Do you want to do a committee meeting, or do you want to do a luncheon? We're open to suggestions. We would just love to meet you guys, all of you, sit down and visit, get to know each other. And so we're open to a luncheon, or if you guys want to meet.
Can we, our normal work session's 5:15, can we just do that? Because
Yeah, it's hard to get.
it's hard to change, so if we could just do the 5:15 normal work session and whoever from the city wants to, you or mayor or whoever.
That's
doesn't matter.
September 27th.
September 27th at
And we'll
5:15.
do the third floor.
In the conference room.
Okay.
Tanner, are you thinking like just an hour? Or are you thinking, a couple of hours, to kind of,
Oh, good.
It's kind of like a
Okay.
normal work.
Just regular work.
Yeah, since
Okay.
we don't have anything on the agenda, then that gives us the freedom to,
But it'd
Sure,
be
I
on
didn't know if
third floor
Tanner maybe-
conference room.
yeah, just
You
like
know.
a normal work session.
And I'll,
We would not object to refreshment.
exactly, if it needed to be,
We're gonna do that.
if you want to feed us, we are happy.
Just like a normal work
But-
session, so
but-
talk about.
Or
To do the
water
lunch
us.
would be hard to do there.
Yeah,
because
everybody
they-
works, and it's
Yeah,
hard.
there's some work and some of us retired and don't know what we're doing, so.
All right, so, are we good to, are we good now? on that?
yeah, I'll send out reminders on that.
I second.
All right, let's just get out of here.